the difference in the color, obvious, notice, something to just be aware of, but then putting it into a category. And when that
Right.
shifts, you were mentioning you think it's a societal construct, and I kind of got a sense that you were like, that is a long conversation, man. I don't know if we can go down that, but I'm curious if this plays a role in it, right? That being a social construct of color versus race.
Yeah, well, look, this is basically how I view it. Uh, the best science right now, population geneticists and people who study this kind of thing, say that, you know, half 50,000 years ago, everyone lived in Africa. And then groups of people started migrating away. Some went to Europe, some went to Asia, some eventually made it to what we think of now as North America. And they were separated geographically long enough to evolve different features, right? Skin lightened as people went to colder climates, and all of the physical markers that we now know as race evolved, right? And and so that's a real scientific phenomenon, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a real scientific phenomenon. That's not a social construct. What is a social construct is the totally arbitrary rules and lines that we draw between races based on public policy or based on societal norms. So, for example, in the old South, they would say anyone who had one drop of black blood was considered black.
Mm.
Why that rule? Who knows? It's completely arbitrary. It's got nothing to do with science. Um, if one of your 16 great grandparents was black, then you're legally categorized as black. In apartheid South Africa, they would run a pencil through your hair, and if the pencil went all the way through, you were considered white. If the pencil got jammed up on a kink or on some curly hair, you were considered color. It's like,
Wow.
is that a scientific test? No, that's absolutely a farce. Okay, but what are our tests today? Like, our rules today are no less arbitrary than the rules in apartheid South Africa and the old South. It's like today you are, well, if you're from Afghanistan, you're white, but if you're 1 mile on the other side from Pakistan, you're South Asian. It's like, okay, I'm not sure that makes sense. And
Mm.
we still sort of have the one drop rule. So we think of Barack Obama as the first black president, even though his mother was completely white. Well, why? Well, that's just pretty much the way we do things. And so all of those elements are socially constructed and they change over time. So that's what I mean when I say like the box you check on the census, that's not a scientific category, that's a social construct.
Right. No, it makes sense.